You unlock this door with the key in my dreams. You're moving into a land of memes and no time. You've just crossed over into the Bimiverse.
This is Mr. James Rolfe, age 43, and where some struggle to stand out to virtual audiences amongst the vast content sea on YouTube, this man has cemented a legacy and amassed a following of over 3 million subscribers. What you're about to watch in this room is a strange mortal combat between a man and himself, for in just a moment, Mr. James Rolfe, whose life has been given over to fighting time, will find his most formidable opponent in a cramped game room that is in reality the outskirts of the Bimiverse.
Tremors is a 1990 horror comedy about a small Nevada town called Perfection, which becomes under siege from killer worms. This film was written by Brent Maddock and S.S. Wilson, with Ron Underwood making contributions to the story. This also marks the feature-length debut of Underwood as a director, who had previously worked with David Schmoller on Tourist Trap and Crawl Space. It starts off with two handymen, Valentine McKee and Earl Bassett, respectively played by Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, running various errands around Perfection. They're unhappy with their menial, low-paying jobs out in the middle of nowhere and aspire for something greater by moving to the nearby city. I find them very relatable as they share the common struggle of pursuing their dreams while being down on their luck. As a personal example, before I became renowned for making over 500 movies, I had a degrading job taking care of boring grocery store bullshit at Shipmart. At least these two didn't have a boss who made them wear a woman's coat. In my opinion, the work they do doesn't seem that bad. As Val and Earl get ready to leave town, they come across a series of bizarre deaths that start popping up in the area and soon discover that unknown creatures are responsible. They attempt to get the police involved, but a landslide blocks the only road out of town while also knocking out the phone lines, cutting them off to any outside help. The film does a great job of slowly building up to the monsters with POV shots, dirt trails, and having their prey killed out of frame. It's quite reminiscent of other movies like Jaws, where the shark is kept mostly unseen in the beginning with its presence only implied or hinted at. Early on, the townspeople find the remains of what looks like a mutant snake and conclude that it's behind the killings. However, when Val and Earl make a second attempt to go out and get help, they discover that the creature is far bigger than they could have imagined. These monsters, dubbed graboids by one of the residents, are actually more like a giant worm with a black multi-part beak and snake-like tentacles that shoot out of its mouth to grab prey, hence its name. I love the design of the graboids. It manages to strike a perfect balance between being an outlandish monster while simultaneously appearing as a believable animal that could exist in the real world. A lot of this authenticity can be lent to the superb use of practical effects for the graboids. The behind-the-scenes footage and documentaries demonstrate the various methods the crew used, such as full-scale props, large manually operated heads as well as hand puppets, and even miniatures. If Tremors was made today, there's no doubt it would be all some lifeless CGI model composited in after filming.
It's another reason why the ITB movie, my 428th film, is a cult masterpiece, because I also got to play with.
I mean, direct the usage of miniatures and puppets in the same vein as Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. The graboids hunt by sensing vibrations in the ground, which means anything from walking to something as innocent as jumping on a pogo stick will attract their attention and make them chase after it. However, this also serves as their weakness, as any loud noises can cause them to retreat in sheer pain. Damn, that's the same kind of reaction I get when I'm playing with Rex Viper. In addition, they also have an uncanny intelligence. Their adaptability contributes a good deal of suspense and effectively puts the townsfolk in a cat-and-mouse situation where they too must come up with plans to counteract the worms. It stands in contrast to typical film monsters, where they're generally mindless cannon fodder lining up to be killed by the heroes. Perfection perfectly embodies the small-town charm where, despite being run down and isolated, its laid-back and neighborly lifestyle make the setting a kind of idealized form of society that we could imagine ourselves escaping to. This is definitely helped by its believable cast of characters. Val and Earl are a duo with fantastic chemistry. It's always a joy seeing them bounce back between typical friendly banter and casually slinging insults at each other.
Good luck, shithead.
Don't worry about me, jerk off.
However, the absolute standout character of Tremors' cast is none other than Burt Gummer.
Eat this!
Before, Michael Gross was best known as the meek, left-leaning patriarch of Family Ties.
I can't help feeling maternal. I'm a father.
Here, he delivers an awesome performance as this paranoid survivalist who can always be counted on when things go south. Burt may be unapologetically blunt and a total gun nut, but he's also very practical and competent at what he does. Overall, this is a very uplifting film. Even though it can be legitimately terrifying with the ways people get killed off, it's balanced out with plenty of humor, likable characters, and slice-of-life moments. It's no surprise that this movie is frequently hilarious when you take into account that the writers for Tremors were also the same people who wrote Short Circuit. Yeah, that's right, the creators of Johnny Five made a horror movie. I like to imagine an alternate reality where Short Circuit 3 was made, and Johnny Five has to team up with Burt to take down a stampede of graboids. Speaking of sequels, Tremors was also popular enough to spawn 6 additional installments, along with a short-lived TV series on the Sci-Fi Channel. The first 3 sequels were surprisingly pretty enjoyable, despite their lower budgets and Kevin Bacon's notable absence.
Fuck you!
They all expanded upon the biology of the graboids, while Burt Gummer was gradually being promoted to the series' main lead, which had the upside of showcasing more of his prepper skills in action. Unfortunately, Universal eventually authorized another trilogy without any input from the original creative team, Stampede Entertainment. It's not surprising that these newer Tremors sequels, more or less, became the same kind of forgettable monster flicks that the franchise had once stood out from. It's sad to see when companies disrespect the people that helped make their projects so successful, turning their backs on them and hiring a crew of hacks to take their place. That's why I always made sure to pay my friends
with exposure whenever they helped me out. Nothing but good memories of working with them. Anyway, I would love to talk more about the series, but I just don't have time for that right now. Maybe next year I will review the rest of the movies, and if I'm a good boy, you will let me watch them with the sound on. If you want a monster movie that's got great special effects and daring cast, and some getting scares, then Tremors might just grab your attention.
Exit. Mr. Bames Ralph, formerly a reflection in a mirror, a fragment of someone else's conscience, a lazy sellout made out of glass, but now made out of flesh, and on his way to join the company of slobs. Mr. Bames Ralph, with 1 foot through the door and 1 foot out of the Bimmy-verse.